Hi, welcome to Fall 2020 at NJT, the IT 201 classes. My name is Eric Nersessian. I'm the instructor for three sections. And what you see on the screen right now is the Canvas page for one of the IT 201 sections. Information Design Techniques is the name of the class. For this section, 007, it meets Tuesdays at 2:30 to 3:50. But you see here that I'll be having web conferences during the times of the three classes so that all the lectures are pre recorded videos and class time is for lab time. It's for help. Either you need help with the conceptual learnings, the what the new material is, you need to talk about it, or you're stuck. Maybe the software can't install correctly, or you just can't figure out the interface, or whatever the coding or whatever parts of the actual project that you're working on, you might get stuck. So this is our lab time, and if you see it, it's Mondays 6 to 7:30, Tuesdays 2:30 to 4, Wednesdays 12:30 to 2. And if those times don't work for you, get in contact with me. My name is Eric Nersessian, and here's my email address. The long form is eric.nersessian@njt.edu, or the shorthand is en6@njt.edu. Either way, all the information that you need to get to will be on your Canvas page, which is why I'm starting off the first video on the Canvas page. Anything you need to find, any links, any documents will be here. The TA, her name is Gav. She will also be in the web conferences and will also be available as needed. So here's her email and phone number. And I myself will also be available throughout the week for one-on-one time as needed. You just have to send an email. We can set up a phone call or a web conference. So the first article or element here I'll cover is the syllabus. Also in Canvas, if you click, it'll either like overwrite the current tab, or it'll open up this kind of weird secondary tab that you're gonna have to click the link again. So just get used to middle clicking in Canvas, and as you see here, it just opened up a new tab with whatever the content is. In this case, it's the syllabus. So my name, office email. Since we're dealing with kind of a more of a online presence for this year until there's some type of vaccine available, there will not be in-person office. It will all be through WebEx, and I'll show you the address for that later. I also use Google Hangouts through NJT emails, but this semester we're going to be using WebEx heavily since we're doing a lot of stuff online. So IT 201, we deal with a mixture of introducing IT students to the basics of interaction design and to programming. And we do this in a fun way through interactive 3D development using the Unity engine. Everything is taught from scratch. I assume no prerequisite knowledge. Yes, most of you have taken some basic like CS100 or just some maybe some Python, some Java programming. This class is in C#, but I teach all the programming principles from scratch. And yes, some of them will be like a refresher from you. Some of you might be adult students who are already working, and the class is just meant as a supplement. There's more elements to software development into this team-driven programming and software engineering that you need to get exposed a little bit to the design side, the user experience side, the interaction side, the user input. And this class is also for students in their freshman, sophomore, maybe even junior. They still need exposure to programming principles in as many different languages as possible to help them abstract the knowledge of the programming principles. So in this case, this class is in C#. It's a very high level or user-friendly language, and everything will be taught from the ground up. and we'll end up building this painting program over a series of 3 sprints, as you see the graph here. So we have 15 weeks in the semester, and we have 3 major projects with a final exam. So as long as you're active in the class every week and you're delivering something, you'll do fine, and you're learning all the knowledge of the class through the projects, through the lecture videos, actually completing the projects. And the final exam is just like a sanity check. Like, were you actually doing the work? If so, you'll do fine on the final exam. So I will briefly click over to showing you the app. Just everything is up on this website, itch.io. And the reason for that is we can just build stuff and build through Unity into a WebGL build, a HTML platform. And you see I can just use the apps right through a web browser. In this case, it's Chrome on Windows, but you'll be making this type of painting app. So as you can see, as I'm dragging the mouse, I'm generating objects, and here's like a user interface to say, all right, I want to spawn something else. So here's a different type of paint stroke. So it's like a 3D painting app. It's fun, it's visual, it's a nice approach to programming and interaction design. On the left-hand side is a user interface. This exposes a lot of my parameters or variables in my code to the user for them to change how they wish the program to operate. So it's a good area to learn in your growth through college. So each sprint we build a small feature. I'm going to teach you about features and user flow diagrams. And we're just going to build like 4, 5 features a sprint until it gets more elaborate all the way at the end, and it looks something like this. And so we build upon each other here for every about 5 weeks, 4 weeks, then the final exam. So that's what the course structure is talking about. So we break up the major learning points of user input, graphics, animations, and how they all relate to programming. So any kind of well-refined front end or user interface needs to be very slick in regards to thinking about user input, the graphical components that are showing the visual information to the user, and how they're moving, the motion, the animation, to give a lot of indication of what's happening, what's available to the user. Right, 3 to 4 weeks of instruction. So each section has 3 to 4 weeks of instruction. All the lecture videos are pre-recorded and put up on a YouTube list. I'll show you in a second. And every week throughout the project, you're going to have to do a posting through Canvas, your progress report. What did you do that week? What were you learning? What were some success points, some failure points? You'll take some screenshots. It's more of like a journal, like a dev blog. Like, let me know what you're doing every week. And these postings, I'll show you on Canvas, they're only active during that week, and then they shut down, then they close. You cannot do a progress report on a week past that week. So after those 3-4 weeks, in this case, sprint 1, you'll do a progress report here, progress report, progress report. You'll learn something from me, do the lectures, maybe a slight activity, and then you'll work on part of that project, and then you'll do a progress report. You'll write about what you did. So you'll do that in weeks 1, 2, 3, 4. And then the last week of each sprint, I do not give any additional material. It's just, now it's time for you. If you were not able to finish in the last week where there's lectures, in this case week 4, and post up your project, your final deliverable, I give everyone an extra week to finish up your project and post. If you're on time and you're fast, you'll have an extra week to go to another class, work on another project from another class, or move ahead if you care to. But a lot of students take that extra week to actually finish up their project. In either case, what we have here is do your project work, create a progress report, same thing, progress report, and then finish up the project and post up your final deliverables and the project deadlines close. There is no late projects in this class. I found that as students fall behind, they stay behind. So, for example, if you're not able to finish sprint one and the class moves into sprint two, you're spending all of your weeks of sprint two watching sprint one, and you're completely out of sync with the class, and you end up having a poorer experience than those who can stay within the current sprint. So, to solve this situation, there's no late projects in this class. This week, there's a progress report forum. It's active. You post. If you don't post anything, you miss this week. It's closed out. Same with the next week's progress report and the next week. This one is only active during this week. And then here's our final deliverable week. The posting, the forum for your final deliverable is only active for this week, and then it closes. So if you were not able to finalize the project at the end of each sprint, I provide the finished project where I got to. So, for example, if you get to the end of sprint one and you're not able to finish sprint one, I will then post up a file. Basically, it's a zip file for Unity of the completed sprint one so that you can move forward into sprint two. So when I grade a project, a sprint project, I look at each week postings, your progress reports, and then I look at your final product. And I weigh heavily. I weigh the grade. I weigh my decisions on how you did very heavily on your progress reports, just as much as your final deliverable, because your progress reports are like my insight into your thinking, insights into your weekly struggles, your weekly learnings and achievements, and why you chose to do this or that. If I don't see any progress reports and you just post up a final deliverable, I'll be very suspicious if you did the work. All my code is available online on GitHub, and it's posted up on the class webpage, which I'll show you in a bit. Also, the code to build the projects are shown in the lecture videos, and the code to build the projects are also available to you from other students in the classes and previous classes. So for me, to know that you did the work, I will look strongly at the progress reports. So take them very seriously. Each week there's going to be a progress report forum. And consistency, regularity, punctuality is very important in this class, just as it is in the real world as you're working in a sprint fashion with other teammates. So you must do the lecture videos, do your project work for that week, and report on your progress. Give me a posting, and I'll show you my sample posting. And you'll get used to it. Every week, you'll start getting comfortable. It's about, since the class is about information design techniques, and industry is very much about communication and collaboration, you'll get used to writing about yourself and blogging your development of this project. And so we have progress reports, and then we have the final deliverable, and we move on. So even if you do your progress reports, but you maybe do a half submission, like, oh, I wasn't able to get the project fully done, that's okay, because I'm looking at every week submissions for your project grade. Even if you do your postings and you miss this week, yes, your grade will be reflected poorly because you didn't give me any deliverables, but at least I have some progress reports to look at. But ideally, you want to be very active in this class weekly. Every week, you want to watch the videos. You want to do some work on the project. You want to post your progress report within that week. I flip on Sundays at midnight. So the week goes from the postings. Monday at midnight, it becomes available. It's available all week, and it closes that Sunday night at 11:59 p.m. And the week is done. There's no excuses. There's no late submissions. You move on. And you just have to get used to being very punctual and then dropping. And then we do progress report, report, do a drop, report, do a drop, and then study and take the final. And if you're very regular, you actually will be done a week ahead of time, and you have a week to yourself. So you want to go spend this week 5 with other classes, that's fine. You want to go spend week 10 And I would recommend getting ahead, and then you have an extra week to study for the final exam. If not, if you need all the time, you'll have a few days, like 3 or 4 days, to study for the final. But again, the final exam is very quick. It's actually at most an hour long. It's half multiple choice, half short answer. And if you've been doing all the projects, it's almost second nature. I do provide a study guide on the Canvas page for it as well. So this is why we have all this lab time. So you're supposed to do all the lecture videos, and then during the established class time, you're going to go to the WebEx meetings, and the WebEx meetings are interactive time. I'm not going to be lecturing. I've already recorded myself lecturing. This is when you went through the videos and, I got stuck. I downloaded Unity and it's giving me this error. Or I wrote the code as I could understand it from your videos, but I'm getting this syntax error. Or my code compiles correctly, but when I click play and test it in the editor, something weird is happening. The things that are painting where my mouse position is, these objects are not what they should be, or nothing is appearing at all. Or when I click on my user interface element, it doesn't update what it's supposed to. These are things that you come into lab time. You're going to share your screen. You're going to have to make sure your computer, you ran WebEx before, you have a webcam, and you know how to share your screen. That's the first week. Come into the lab times, test it out, see where you have your issues. And the TA, Gav, and myself will be there to help you. You'll also get used to how to export out Unity packages, which is kind of like their zip file. So it's like if we cannot diagnose your problems with screen sharing, it's super easy to just send us a zip file. These projects are very lightweight, and they're only like a few megabytes, maybe even less, to send us a zip file. And we just open it up in Unity ourselves, and then you watch us diagnose your problems. And again, if these times don't work for you, which one of them should, because one of them is your class time, we can also meet outside these times. Some students are comfortable with want to just sit in the lab time and just work on their projects, and that's acceptable as well. So I'm going to return back to the point that there is no late projects every week. There is a progress report. Just let me know what's going on. So your dev log at the end of every sprint, there is a project posting, a deliverable that you must build an interactive product and post it up and describe it. And if you're unable to do so, we move on. The life moves on, the class moves on, and you're going to have to deal with a poor grade. But the way that the grading structure works is that it's okay. You can mess up on one project, you can mess up on the final exam, and you can still pass the class. Every part, there's 4 parts, 3 sprints, 1 final exam. Each part is 25% of your grade. But when I look at grading a sprint project, remember I'm looking at all of the progress reports plus your final deliverable. So if something happens in your life that is an excusable reason for missing deadlines, then go to the Dean of Students and get a letter from them and send that to me. I cannot take an email saying that this happened or that happened. You're going to have to go through the Dean of Students, get a letter, and then I can work on you one-on-one and adjusting your time scale of the class. Besides that, just stay regular. Regular, every week. And actually, if you're really regular, you get a free week here, a free week here, and a free week here to work on another class, study for the final, get ahead of this class, or whatever it is that you would like to do. But most students will use this extra week to keep working on the project. All right. So peer mentoring, definitely reach out to people, reach out to us, help work with other people, check documentation, talk through your code with your fellow students. Everything that's fine. In fact, if you help out on some of these help forums, I'll show back in the Canvas page. I'll give you some extra credit on your sprint project. So feel free to reach out and work with each other. That's all fine. But know that we do have an honor code. All work that you do must be your own. It's really easy for me to tell when you just submit my work back to me, whether you submit one of my user flow diagrams, you submit my same project descriptions, you submit my own code. It's really easy for me to tell that you just copied and pasted, especially with the progress reports. And when I see students submitting projects that look the same, you're all going to get poor grades because I cannot tell who did the work and who copied off of who. So if your friend asks you, "Oh, I was in a bind. Give me my project. Can you give me your project and I'll just post it up?" I would think twice about that because it's very clear when the projects look the same. When you do your own work, it just every week you will naturally devolve, or not devolve. You will naturally evolve or naturally kind of pursue your own interests in the code, in the user interface, in the objects you're going to paint, in your app. Just looks differently and functions differently from mine. That's good. You'll be along the same vein as me. You follow me. I'll be the framework. You're allowed to explore a little bit, but since this is an introductory class in programming and an introductory class in interaction design, you're going to follow my project very regularly because there's lots of rabbit holes and issues that can just derail you for the class. But you will explore within my framework, and I can tell when you've done your own work. So feel free to get help from anyone. Just spend your time and do the work, because at the end of the day, it's obvious to me when you don't do it, and your grade's going to be reflected. So, attendance policy. Attendance is not recorded. The videos are online. You have to spend your time with this class, probably around 6 hours a week, 3 hours of lecture time, 3 hours of project time. But that's for your own to set up in your week. I do not require attendance. In fact, this class only meets for an hour and a half. It's a hybrid class, and the hour and a half is lab time. It's for help on your projects. It is not lecture time. The lectures are pre-recorded. You come in with questions. You come in with you got stuck. If you're not stuck and you're doing fine and you wish to just hang out and do your work, that's fine too. And if you don't wish to appear into lab time, that's fine as well. You are mature enough to use your time during the week to get done what you need to get done. You need your one-on-one time with myself or the TA, make use of it. We'll be here as much as you need to. Just make sure you do your work. And you can come to our lab time, which is virtual. It's a web conference. It's on WebEx. So speaking of which, this is how I'm handling the classes for this semester. I will be sitting in the classroom. I will be there live, but I am providing all of the structure of the class in an online format. I do not require you to come to class, nor do I recommend it, because all interactions are going to be through the WebEx conference room, the WebEx meeting. So you can come to class. I'll be wearing a mask. I think they're going to have a plexiglass shield in front of the lecture table, podium. But I'm not talking to you, and you will not be near me. You will not be near other students. You will have to social distance. You will have to wear masks. I will not touch your computers. I will not touch any of your personal objects. I don't want any of you close to me. I don't want any of you touching each other's personal objects, computers, and interacting with each other. So you will have to talk if you do wish to come to class. You'll be separated out, and you're going to have to share your screen, your computer screen, through the WebEx meeting. So you'll get the same experience whether you're live in the classroom or whether you're online, because everything is going to funnel through WebEx. All the interactions. All the lectures are videos. They're posted up on YouTube and they're linked on the Canvas page, and I have a website for the class. All the project files are online as well. And the live class time is used for lab, for interactive help time, and it's all going to funnel through the WebEx meeting room. So I will be sitting in the room, but all my interactions will be through my computer screen, through WebEx, and I will share my screen to show you something, and you will share your screen to show me some issue. If the issue is really complicated, I'm going to show you how to make a Unity package and send it to me, and then I'll open it up. I'll open your project. I'll do whatever. I'll show you it, and you will repeat the steps. So I do this because we're in the middle of a pandemic, and there currently is no vaccine, and so I provide as much of the classroom experience as was before the pandemic. It's just going to be through WebEx. So if you want to come onto campus or come into the classroom, that is of your own discretion. I don't know how the NJT administration is monitoring the number of students in the classroom. I've heard about this app, and you have to register, a spot if you're going to come in the classroom. That stuff I have no information on. So until we understand how this app works and how the logistics work of how many people and who's allowed into the classroom, I'll create another video, and I'll create more information about that. But for now, I anticipate most of you will stay home or stay in your dorm, and attend the class time as needed voluntarily through WebEx. Web conferencing. But I will be in the classroom attending the WebEx. The TA will be at home or in the classroom, but in either case, we'll be attending the WebEx conference and helping. And if you come to the classroom, know that you're going to have to bring your mask. You're going to have to follow protocols. You got to bring your own laptop. We actually are not meeting in our classroom that we normally meet at, which is GIT 3200. Which has computers. We're meeting in classrooms that don't have computers but are available, have this ability to do converged learning. So you have to bring your own laptops, but I'm not touching your computers, your personal belongings. You're still going to have to show your stuff through WebEx and write out your questions or what have you. So honestly, for your own sake, I would just stay home and do WebEx, but I'm here. I'm in the classroom if it's needed. We're just going to have to follow the COVID-19 protocols. So classroom conduct basically means be professional in how you interact with other students and myself. This is a class about designing information and communication. Design is a very iterative process. Software engineering is very iterative. There needs to be a lot of constructive criticism. Nothing is ever complete. Nothing's ever perfect. So definitely politely pick out the issues in your classmates' projects, but always follow up with advice on how to fix it. Constructive criticism is key to working in teams. Students will be graded on the 3 sprint projects based on their weekly progress reports and the project deliverable. I did cover all this. You'll be trained how to do everything. Grading policy. Final grade is the 3 sprints plus 1 exam. Everything is weighted at 25%. 4 graded items at 25% each. And that means you can completely mess up on one major thing, a project or an exam, and still, be able to pass. And there's no late work accepted. Each of these forums are open for 1 week and close. Even the final deliverables of the projects open for 1 week and it closes. Final exam is just open during your class time, that last class period. I'll cover that when I go through the Canvas page. So please note that a D is still passing. This applies to very few of you, but there's some people who do poorly in the class but they're borderline, and they could still pass. And a D is still passing for an IT student in this core IT class, but it just means your total GPA has to be over 2.0 or a C. All of your classes added up and averaged have to be at 2.0, which means this class you can still get a D and you can still pass and graduate as an IT student. So it's not an acceptable argument to say you need a C to pass this class. Put in the effort. Even if you bomb one part of the class, you can still, attempt, and it's still very manageable to get a C, a C plus. For the rest of you, most of you, it's good a lesson to stay regular and just address the class every single week, and you'll just do fine. Nothing is super complicated in this class. It's just if you walk away from this class for a week, 2 weeks, 3 weeks, the work piles up and you forget where you were, and it's hard to recover. So this class is about regularity in a sprint fashion. Do your work, learn, apply your project week after week after week. You'll find this class very easy. So that's it for the syllabus. All right, I'm going to try it. I'm getting a little long in this video, but hopefully that was all well understood. And once these videos go up and Canvas goes up, you can start emailing me and calling me with any questions. I would prefer you to get really oriented before the semester starts. In fact, there's one class session that's at Monday evenings, and even though there's no Monday classes the first week of the semester, all the classes start on that first week because it's an online experience. And you can go to any of these times. And even if these times don't work for you, you can email me. I'll set up a time for you. So even the Monday class starts the first week in September. They're all starting right off the bat in the first week. I went over the syllabus. So the class website, I'll middle click that. It looks like this. This is part of my portfolio site. This section right here is devoted to this class. So I have my overview. I have the builds that I just kind of played with over here on itch.io. I have the actual code that's up on GitHub. All the code is right here. You can peek through it. You can get comfortable with what GitHub is about. This is a great skill set for you. Again, all the code is available, and if you know how to go back through the branch, through the commits, you can actually go through and step through each of the project deliverables I went through. So everything is up, which is why I need to see your progress reports, and I need to see you actually building your own projects. So that was back on class website. And then the lecture videos, if you click here, or I also have the YouTube lecture video series. In either case, here's all my videos up on YouTube. This is the name of the lecture series. See, there's 29 videos. I got all the weeks and all the videos for each week right up here. I also post up each lecture video throughout the weeks, but just know that if you need to look at them, all of them, you can go to them here, or there are also YouTube lecture videos on Canvas. So I kind of write out just what the syllabus was, what the structure of the class is. It used to be it was hybrid. Half the class was face-to-face, half online. But for this year, due to the pandemic, it's just going to be a lot of it. The face-to-face will be through WebEx. And then I go through each of the sprint deliverables. You'll understand what these user flows mean later on. And then each sprint, 1, 2, 3. There used to be 4, but this is more about refactoring your code, and it was getting a little intense for the students, so I dropped it. We just have sprints 1, 2, 3. So here's sprint 1. Here's the description. Here's the purpose, what you're going to learn. Here's the user flows, or the features that we're going to build. Here's a link to the build. Here's the breakdowns per week in the videos. And if you click this, it's actually a PDF breakdown of each week if you're interested in learning more about the learning points. So it's all here for you if you need to dive in more. But I recreate the whole class on Canvas. It's just more information on the website as needed. All right. That's the YouTube lecture series. And so here's the WebEx conference link. So whenever you want to join this conference, here's the link to it. This is the version of Unity that we're going to use. So if you click here, we're going to use what's called a long-term support, or it's basically their last version that they will support in the long term. And we're going to use for their major release points, and we're going to use 2018. So this is what I created the lecture videos on. Yes, they're up to 2019, and they're actually passing into the beta versions of 2020. But just so that you have a one-to-one experience with the videos, it's not, they add some new features every year, but it's not like completely groundbreaking to your experience. Most of Unity 2018 is the same as 2019. So just follow this link, go to 2018.4.26F1, and you can download for Windows or for Mac. Make sure you download it, install it, and try to open it and solve those issues. Because for Mac, there's always students will commonly put it in like the wrong folder, and there's like a security issue, and they got to understand that to install applications, it has to go in a certain folder. That happens a lot. So download whatever you need and get it up and going. And I talk a lot more about installing Unity and what it is, and about these user flow diagrams here. But just know that what I'm currently recording will be lecture 1, and it'll be right here. And then lecture 2 covers a lot of stuff. The very beginning of lecture 2 is a little out of date, just so that you're aware. Because I cover like the syllabus. I cover what I'm covering right now. But this was before kind of the pandemic hit and that. So everything I'm talking about, all this, how the class works online with WebEx and with weekly progress reports, this is all kind of a little bit new. But if you scroll through here, and also I was talking about Moodle when now we're over to Canvas. So these are the kind of, basically I'm rebuilding this first part, but right around here, around like minute 15 or 14, you see I could kind of jump over to what you're going to be doing for Sprint 1. But you can still watch these first 15 minutes. It's all super relevant. Or you can put it on like speed 2 if you want to get through it. But basically the first 15 minutes or so of this one is I'm kind of rebuilding it right now. So you can skip it if you care to. But there might be some little snippets in there about the first project that's interesting. General help and tech help forms. So these are this is general questions about the class. Post them up here. And tech help. So this is, you can post up if something is just having issues, if you're stuck in the code, you're stuck with Unity, something's not making sense. You can try posting up here, and all the students should get an email. And this is the 2 forums where I said, if you help answer other students, I'll give you some extra credit. So general class help and technical help on projects. When you post up tech help, take a screenshot. For Windows, there's a snipping tool. It makes for super easy screenshots, and explain what your problem is and show a screenshot. So here we finally get to September 1st, the first week of the semester. First day of class, we're going to start Sprint 1, create this basic painting tool. And I call it week 0. It's like how to work in an online class, how to deal with Canvas, how to deal with WebEx, how to have clean forum postings, how to explain yourself well with text, images, and links to your build. So that's week 0, like figure out how to function in the class. Then we have the second semester week, which is really the first week of Sprint 1, or let's go in. Let's start working in Unity. Let's start making our user flow diagrams, what have you. Notice here's the progress reports. Progress report, progress report, progress report. Here's Sprint 1, week 2, some more lecture videos. Here's I do these suggested project work. So for this week, I suggest you create your project description and your user flow diagrams to keep on track. Next week, I suggest you incorporate input raycasting physics. You'll learn all about this and do a test build because you're always going to have issues when you're doing your build process. And the following week, we're into the third week of the sprint. Here's our lecture videos. Here's the suggested project work. Here's our progress report. And then here's that ending week I was talking about, where there's no videos, there's no extra material. You have one additional week to work on the project. Here's the delivery. Notice I have my due dates. Remember, these forums are open just for that week, and they close right at Sunday at 11:59 p.m. And then here we are moving into Sprint 2. Once we move into Sprint 2, I don't give suggested project work. Just follow along the videos. Do what I do in the videos. You'll do fine. And notice that this is the Unity package. It's not exposed to you yet because this I turn on. And for those who are not able to complete Sprint 1, we're moving to Sprint 2. Use my Sprint 1 completed and move on. I should talk about explains the assignment. So let me go back up. Actually, I'm going to move through and then I'll show you the assignment. So Sprint 2, we're moving through. Here's week 2, progress report. Week 3, progress report. Week 4, progress report. Here's that extra week to just work on your project. No late work, remember. Here we are in Sprint 3. See, this isn't exposed yet. When the time comes, I'll expose it for those who need it. So week 3, we start up. Here's your assignment, your lecture videos, and here's your progress report. Week 2, your video, your progress report. Week 3, your video, your progress report. Here's your week to just finish up your project. And then here's the final exam all the way at the end. It's the last day of class. For this one, it happens to be Tuesday, December 8th at 2:30 to 4. Here's the study guide. And this will be active, and you come in and take the final exam. And I'll cover that in more details as the time comes. But once you start it, you have 60 minutes to finish it. Most people finish it in 30 to 40 minutes, which means you can be up to a half hour late and still start the exam and get the full 60 minutes. But whatever your class period is, you start the final exam. That final exam is only active for that hour and a half, that last day of class. So let me go back up and introduce you to the first project. So once you go through this first week and I explain cognitive walkthroughs and I explain how to use Unity and you join your first WebEx meetings, and I actually, if you go into the progress report, I already did an example posting. So this is me explaining my week 0 posting. This is me figuring out how to do a cognitive walkthrough and me doing my first user flow diagram, which I cover in the next video. But just know that I already did an example posting for you. Now as we move down, let's start the real sprint. All right, that was kind of the baby week, the slow ramp up first week. Let's start the sprint. So every sprint starts off with this, an assignment. It explains what to do. In this case, there's a little survey that starts off, but usually it says, okay, if you want to go to the class overview, click here. I showed you this. This shows the big overview points of the class. Then it says, okay, and you want to read through Sprint 1, click here, which is really just this link here, Sprint 1. I showed you this page. This is explaining the learning points, the builds. So I used to be able to embed the WebGL on my website, but that feature got deactivated. So if you click on this link, this will bring you through to the actual live demo, the live build, in this case, Sprint 1. So notice nothing's moving. It's a reduced user interface. The graphics don't look as fun as the one I showed earlier in the video because this is Sprint 1. It has less features than the end of the class. We build up. We make our projects more sophisticated. And notice it says up here, Sprint 1. And there's little directions and my name, and here's the little interface. And as I change it, notice that, oh, okay, I changed the amount of colors that can be displayed. The program functions differently now because I interacted with the user interface. So anyway, I went to here and I was able to read about Sprint 1, and I was actually able to look at the user flows, which I'll explain next video. And I was able to click on the link and play the demo. This is where you're going to get your project at the end of Sprint 1 in 4 weeks or so. And then we make it more complicated. So anyway, this explains that, okay, look at my app, do a cognitive walkthrough of it. You'll get all this training in the next video, make your user flows. It explains what your project's going to be, how you should deliver it, blah, 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 about the weekly progress postings. Take your time and read through this. And then here's my example delivery. So that last week of the sprint, there's going to be a forum saying sprint delivery. Your posting's going to look like this. For the sprint, I create an app. The app does this, has these features. Here is the link to my prototype, which you're going to test. You got to test that your links are fine, because if we can't open them, we can't grade them. So anyway, here I tested my link. It works great. Then here's a reminder. I built out the user flows for 3 features, and I labeled them and I gave them descriptions, and then here's the diagrams of them. So how to paint, how to change the object you're painting, how to change the color you're painting. That is all the features of my build. And here, the build is embedded in my Canvas posting. This is optional. You don't have to do this. If you're interested, it's a very easy, you actually just go in the edit, there's the HTML editor. But it says, alternatively, I embedded the web build below, which is optional for you. Remember, you must create 4 features. So this means that in reality, my Sprint 1 has about 7 or 8 features, user features available to them. I've documented 3 of them. But go ahead, use my program, do your cognitive walkthrough, which you'll be trained on, and you can expose or identify a 4th one. And you must build a 4th user flow. You must write about the 4th one after the 3rd one, and you must program it. So again, when I go through the lecture videos for Sprint 1, I will have built this, which has about 7 user flows, 7 features. You must pick 4 of your own. You can reuse 3 of mine and pick a new one. You can do 4 of your own within this idea of this painting program. Usually what people do is they'll reproduce these 3 user flows, these 3 features, and then go and identify one on your own. So it's okay to follow me quite a bit. I just want you to try to identify one more feature from my Sprint 1. As you build it, I want you to show the user flow for it. Now, it's completely fine to reuse the user flows or the ideas of user flows, but do not give me my user flows back to me. Write out your project description yourself. Think about the app, use it, build it, write the project description in your own words. Identify your user flows and describe them by yourself. So again, it's okay to document the painting flow. It's okay to document and diagram the change primitive. It's okay to document and diagram the change color. But you need to go through and do the cognitive walkthrough. You need to express your user experience in these action statements, and you need to rebuild those action statements into these user flow diagrams all by yourself. Your language will be different than mine. Your shapes will look a little different. I can tell when you just copy and paste my user flows back to me than if you actually just did the work yourself. I can't accept my own work back to me. You can follow along with me, and you can choose to document the features in your own language. You can choose to redraw the diagrams with your own thinking, with your own language, your own shapes. or you can choose to go off on your own. But in either case, do all your own work. In this case, document 4 features and diagram them as user flows and build them in the app, just like I have done, and provide your link. And if you have questions on this the first time through, it's okay. Students get confused. I'm trying to have you follow me and then do it yourself. And since there's a lot of guide for you, like I want you to go through and think about what the user flows are. You can reuse the ideas I have. Just do them yourself. Or if you're already comfortable, go off and even go off more on your own, but at least I've given you a framework. I've given you a trail to follow. And again, you want more clarity, come to the WebEx meetings during class time to talk more about it. But in either case, that's what a sprint assignment is, and that's what it looks like when you deliver it all the way at the end here. And so you'll starting here. Again, this video will be lecture 1, and then you're going to go off to lecture 2. And the first 15 minutes of lecture 2, you can kind of skim through it. And then I start going through Unity and the cognitive walkthroughs and making your own user flow diagrams. And then that's when you're going to want to go into this folder and look at some flow diagram examples as I'm talking. In this case, this is about a piece of banking software. And then I'll teach you the diagramming tool and so on. So I think I've covered everything, and I've tried to be very clear, and I'm sorry if this is a very long lecture video, but we're starting up the semester, and we're starting up in this kind of new workflow with WebEx and dealing with the pandemic. And so I really tried to clean up Canvas and make it super clear, and make the structure of the class very easy to understand. And if you just stay regular every week, do the work, watch the lecture videos, post up your progress reports, and at the end of every sprint, post up your deliverable, and just know that all these forums will open and close for that week. You'll do fine in class. So I'm going to end the video now, and then you'll be going on to lecture 2. I'm sorry, up here. Oh, no. You'll be going on to lecture 2 and learning about cognitive walkthroughs and user flow diagrams. Thank you.